Welcome back to the October Horror Challenge, day one. This is officially day one, and I got in 6 films today. I pounded out some watches today. Um, First up is 2016's The Wilding, which I watched on Netflix. That was the last, September 30th was the last day to watch it, so unfortunately. But The Wilding tells the story of Brad Dourif, plays this father of this child that's sick. And basically the child is turns into a were creature over the proceedings of the film. It was a decent watch. I mean, I wouldn't want to rewatch it, but it was a decent watch. I give it a 6 out of 10. It was directed by Syrian Foy, I believe, who also did Sinister. Apparently, it was supposed to be a series. It was kind of a made-for-TV movie that was supposed to kickstart. It was a film that was supposed to kickstart a series. Unfortunately, I guess they never got around to doing that. The problem with the film, I think, is that it looks kind of cheesy. For 2016, they should have done I think they could have done a better job of the werewolf makeup. If Brad Dourif wasn't in it, it probably wouldn't make any. It wouldn't resonate with anybody at this point. But I mean, a decent watch. I mean, it's not something that I would buy, something like that. But yeah, it was a decent watch. Next up, we've got some not so decent watches. I've got into this. I've been trying to work my way through the Severin Dungeon of Andy Milligan set, and I finished it. But I will tell you that it was a brutal, painful, masochistic viewing experience. It's just really hard to find anything decent in here. I think if I had to put a gun to my head and pick one, I would have to. Fleshpot on 42nd Street's probably the most decent film of this whole lot, and the Ghastly ones, I guess, is not unwatchable, but the rest of them are just almost unwatchable. First up, I watched Carnage. So I watched these two, Carnage and Blood. And Carnage was made in the 80s. Now, you would have thought that Andy Milligan, having started out in the 70s with next to no money to make films, by the time of the 80s rolled around, that he would have been a bit more proficient in movie making, but it's horrendous. It's a painful. It's a really bad version of Hatchet for a Honeymoon. If you want to watch a good movie, watch Hatchet for a Honeymoon, the Italian film. Carnage is basically a honeymoon couple that moves into this house that's had a killing, and then there you've got ghostly apparitions bothering the protagonist. It's terrible. 3 out of 10. It's just inept in every sense. I mean, I don't understand how someone can. I was sitting there thinking, you make a career out of something, whether it's like me, I got into finance, whether it's movie making, whatever you do. I mean, don't you want to be good at it? I mean, if you're not good at it, do something else. I mean, and so all these movies he made from the 70s and now into the 80s, and none of them were any good. I mean, it just seems like such a waste of someone's energy to spend so much time doing something that you just don't get any better at. I mean, it's amazing. Anyway, it is what it is. It's Andy Milligan. It sucks. It's horrendous, and I'm just glad I'm through with it. The last one I watched was Blood, which thankfully, mercifully, was only like 70 minutes long. It's a tepid vampire story. Of course, you've got Andy Milligan loved to do the costume melodramas, and so it's a costume melodrama about vampires, and it's terrible. I gave it a 2 out of 10. I'm just glad it's over. I will say this, actually. I watched Toga Party, which is a little It was actually a special feature added movie. And the interesting thing about Toga Party is it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's got a porn star named Jimmy Astor, I think, and he's hilarious in the movie. And then when I went to research, well, I said, wait a minute, is there an Andy Milligan movie I actually like? And I started looking into it, and I found out, well, of course not. Andy Milligan directed insert scenes for Toga Party. It was directed by somebody else, and for whatever reason, they decided to insert a bunch of toga scenes directed by Andy Milligan. And then I realized the toga scenes are the scenes that were crap. They should have. It's like, why are these toga scenes in the middle of this? You'll have a decent story, good acting, kind of funny at times story, and then you've got these incongruent toga scenes stuck in the middle of this film, which Andy Milligan did. But if you take the sad commentary on Toga Party is if you take out the Andy Milligan scenes, it's actually a decent movie. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about Andy Milligan anymore. It was brutal. I'm glad it's over. I really probably would want to sell that box set, but I doubt that I'll get my money back on it. Next up is a classic, a 10 out of 10, and that is Bride of Frankenstein. A wonderful sequel to the original, just as gothic, just as atmospheric, beautifully made, beautifully shot, great acting. Ernest Thesiger plays the evil doctor, and he makes the movie. I mean, if you didn't have Ernest Thesiger, it would still probably be a great movie, but it's a 10 out of 10 because of his interplay and between himself and Colin Clive, the two mad scientists who partner up to provide the monster with a bride. Elsa Lanchester, of course, played the Bride of Frankenstein. Great movie, just fantastic. I loved it. A lot of dark humor in it that works. Awesome watch. 10 out of 10. Bride of Frankenstein. And then I watched Man Bites Dog, which I'd never seen. Man Bites Dog is a Belgian film. It's a student Belgian film. It's a mockumentary about a serial killer. Basically, a film crew goes around following this serial killer, trying to learn what motivates him to kill and what's his outlook on life. And so interspersed with just these indiscriminate, pointless killings, you've got this documentary about this serial killer kind of expounding on societal issues and social commentary. Very good movie. A very impressive movie for the fact that this was a student film, this guy's first film. Apparently the lead actor was also a part director in the film. The only problem with it is, I think you see it with many mockumentary or movies, is that there's a lull. You know, once you set up the initial setup of the film, your second chapter of the film tends to be a little dull. You're kind of waiting for things to happen, and this is the same case. The problem with this film also is that it kind of shies away from showing the killings. You see the before and you see the aftermath, but you don't see the killings. But having said that, I mean, and I guess my final quip about the film would be that I think the ending was just kind of set up wrong, in my opinion. It's a very nihilistic ending, but it was you could see it coming a mile away the way they set it up, unfortunately. But other than that, I think it's a 7 out of 10. I mean, it made the Criterion Collection, so if that tells you something. But yeah, I definitely recommend Man Bites Dog as a watch. Maybe not a purchase, but I would definitely recommend it as a watch. Let's see what else we got here. Final watch of the day was Slither, James Gunn's debut film from 2006. And Slither's a fun film. Slither's a body horror film. Apparently James Gunn is a big Cronenberg fan, and you can see that in this movie. He wrote the story, directed the film. Stars Elizabeth Banks, And it also stars Michael Rooker. That's right. Michael Rooker and Elizabeth Banks are married, and somehow this alien egg arrives on Earth that releases these slugs, and the slugs inhabit people's bodies through their mouths. And Michael Rooker ends up turning into like a squid monster. I mean, it's this film's loaded with dark humor in the middle of a lot of horrific scenes. Very much akin to Society, if you've seen the movie Society. But yeah, this is a 7 out of 10. I thought Elizabeth Banks was great as the wife. Gorgeous to look at, and did a great job. Michael Rooker was fantastic. Great special effects. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. But there is something about this movie that I can't I can't tell you exactly why I don't think it deserves a 10 out of 10, but I just don't think it's a 10 out of 10. I think it's a great horror movie. I think it's a great watch, but it's just not. There's something missing that I can't. One of the few films I can't put my finger on why this is something that I wouldn't rate higher. But I enjoyed the hell out of it, and this release is very nice. It's got audio commentaries. This is a release from, of course, Scream Factory. Great release from Scream Factory. Definitely recommend it. The picture quality is fantastic. So that's Slither, and that's going to wrap up day one. And if you've seen any of those films and have any comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. We appreciate you watching. Thanks.